what's very interesting is the connection between all parts of our bodies. And the thing is, it's actually relevant to today, what Andrea mentioned about the vitamin D. Not one particular supplement, but how we're so interconnected in every single way. Like people like to separate, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me, I need to think positive. But then there could be something to do with your gut that's out of balance. And the gut's a very interesting place to check, because if you look at absorption of nutrients and minerals, it's in your gut, right? So then you have certain lack of certain enzymes and things like that. And of course, that's in Ayurveda and the traditional Chinese medicine and all the traditional things. They look at your tongue, they look at your stomach from there, they look at your ability to assimilate food. Because if and then if we've got too many toxins in our colons with all the unrefined carbohydrates, you're going to start getting a foggy mind. And you know that expression when people say, this guy's always grumpy, he's full of shit, because literally that's what's happening, is a backup of so much toxins in your body that you come across as being full of shit, right? But once you start realizing the interconnectedness of all of this, it gives you a sense of clarity, or else you're trapped in one particular dialogue. And the mind has the ability to focus in continuously on one thing, to the detriment to everything else. If you look at people worried about one thing, they're like, oh, I hope I don't lose my job. And they end up not losing their job. But in the meantime, one of their spouse dies, or they get an illness, or something drastic happens, and they go, wow, and I was worried about losing my job, and this happened. So what ends up happening is and then we suffer that one particular thing that we're so focused on all the time. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that doesn't happen. Yet there's so many other things that could happen. Now, you know it's impossible to keep track of everything. So it doesn't mean that you should stress about everything. Some people interpret that, well, how am I going to manage everything? It's to learn to let go, learn to allow, learn to let things flow, right? And not believe everything you think or everything you feel, right? Sometimes we can't sleep at night and we're sitting there going, well, it's got to do with my boss. Maybe it's got nothing to do with your boss, and more to you not taking enough oxygen in, too much time with the blue light, right? And that's something that I've been starting to use as well. I've been recommending people red light. I don't know if you guys heard of red light therapy, but this stuff is amazing. It's of course not approved by the WHO and by the World Health, other type of agencies, but go under red light, spend time on because all of this is blue light. Everything we're experiencing now, the screen, the phone, our television sets, form of supplement. Yeah, they are, Ronald. I like that. These sessions are a form of supplements as well. So I like that. Ronald's always got the unique and creative touch to it. So look up red light therapy. Highly recommended for recharging the batteries. Inflammation, the number one cause of most of the things that we're going on right now is inflammation. So sometimes we have so much stress and we think that if we can just stop stressing, that all our problems will disappear. But we're not realizing we're diagnosing it the incorrect way, because we're stressed because we're afraid. And what are we afraid of? We need to get to that. Now, why is it that what you're afraid of, another person's not afraid of? Could be a composition in our bodies and how we're interacting, our hereditary. Look at how your mother and father interacted with life. Were they calm? And you must remember, a lot of us came from the Great Depressions in our parents and our grandparents, and we inherit a lot of those traits. So sometimes we're sitting in a nice apartment overlooking the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and we feel like we want to kill ourselves. We feel so stifled and so struggled. And it's to look at this broader picture. So it's a very good context to talk about. Ronald, thanks for popping in. So yeah, guys, if there's anything you guys want to add, otherwise I'd like to introduce the topic that you guys are all here for. So today's topic is on intuition. It's an ongoing, every second week we have these free group sessions on intuition and tapping into your inner wisdom, the voice inside of you. And today I've got a couple of exercises for us to practice. And also I'm going to discuss something that not many people have explored, which is not the law of attraction. The reason why I say it's not the law of attraction is because people have this concept of the law of attraction, but there are laws, there are principles, and there are the way things are formed, and it's ancient principles. And so I'm going to introduce you to some of those principles today for you to recognize in all of it, where you stand in relation to your life, your problems, your health issues, your relationship things, and all the rest of it on an individual basis. All this type of information I'm giving you is an invitation to probe within you. There isn't this thing as I'm telling you that I'm the guy who has your solution. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply indicating how to go within: intuition, intelligence, instinct. Notice all of those words start with in. They're in you. And my goal is to develop that in people so that you're not needing information anymore. You have access to that. I just saw this wonderful thing. Ryozo is from Japan, and I was looking at the works of Imoto Masoro, who did this amazing work on water. Maria and I have spent a lot of time on water and memories, and it's a fascinating topic that is so broad. Maria, what was the name of the Gaia documentary? If you guys can get this, trust me, there's nothing more valuable to watch than this on water. What was the name?
I don't remember names, but it's on Gaia.
On Gaia, I'll send the link. So
Yeah.
I'll post the link on it on LinkedIn. So this particular thing talks about water and how memories are not stored in our brains, because till today, no neuroscientist has ever opened up our brains and found a memory. Right? Because people say memories in your brain. Oh, why can't I think of the answer? Imagining that your brain is the one that's storing the memories, but it's not. So what they found, the connection between your heart being a receptacle or a receiver, and the water as the storer of memories, which is really interesting. So all memories. Now, when we talk about memories, we're talking about multidimensional aspects here. We're talking about universal oneness. You're composed of roughly 80% water, even if not even more. All around you, the earth is 80% water. In fact, they found out that water doesn't come from earth. Water is a foreign substance. If you look at the development of the universe, it was sort of sent here or crashed into earth as big ice, what do you call them, like what are they in the South Pole, those big ice sheets? So they were crashed into the earth, which formed our oceans. So you could say that water is this alien substance, and when you examine water for its properties, water sort of holds the key to your whole existence. It's in there. And I was, eyes open, popping out of my head when I did this research. So either way, when you look at it, I just saw the statistic: 72% of ideas and inspiration come to us in the shower. And I thought, why is that in the shower? You notice that, right? When you're in the shower, taking a bath, they say if you want to de-stress, because in water, you're now connected to all the energetic fields, because water is a carrier. And so can it be hypothesized that if you're quiet enough, somebody's mic is on, feeding back into the, yeah, okay, it seems fine, sort of. Can we access memories of any location in time and space using the water molecule? I don't even know about the holographic universe, right? So that it has been proven in many different scientific studies. I don't know if you've been following me for a while, you know about the story of the child with a heart transplant patient. I haven't got time to go into, but interestingly enough is that every molecule of water, you could say, contains a holographic image of everything else in the entire known universe. So you get people with these abilities to transmit and transcend time and space, and get access to this knowledge, as telekinesis, telepathy, all these types of things. The reason why I mention this is because right now, most of us live in front of a computer. We've got jobs to go to, we've got families to feed, and we're feeling very trapped. Many of them feel very disempowered. The number one feeling I believe that people have today is a feeling of disempowerment. I can't get that. I can't do that. And so that kills creativity. That's one thing that you had as a child. You were creative. I want to go up and be a fireman. I want to become an astronaut. Or a girl will say, I want to become whatever it was that a girl would want to be. There wasn't any limitation placed on the imagination. And imagination is the secret fountain to youth, to health, to well being. If you stop, how many of you sit around fantasizing about your future instead of fantasizing about? I mean, that's why there's such a big increase in romantic novels, right? Because you get lost in somebody else's story, right? You're like, oh, and then she touched his hand and they kissed in the night. Well, that's great. It's a distraction, you see, because you feel your life is so mundane. You rather, go and watch, and it's fine. I do, by all means, do it. It's not judgment in any way, because I can understand the stress of modern day society. But if your imagination was so fired up, if people take psychedelics, they're just in this amazing state of awe and wonder. And now you say, what do you want? And they say, I can have anything. The Netflix documentary on mushrooms, forget the name, but my God. So this man came up with this idea or this business that he wanted to create, and it became extremely popular on using psychedelics in his business. And he came up with it while he was having a psychedelic trip. Now, I'm not recommending you take psychedelics. I'm recommending, and you want to take that, I have no problem with that either, because they are plants, they're not drugs, is that you learn to develop your intuition, your imagination, your creativity. For one reason would be that you'd be damn good at what you're doing in your work, in your business, in your home life, because you're not going to be looking at problems from the same structured way. Your brain forms these ridges and structures, which says, if I want that, like one of the guys I was interviewing, he said, everybody I spoke to, they had these dreams, and I asked them, why did they do it? And they always say it's money. Because that's how the ridge on the brain forms. It's like, you want to do this, you need money. But then you get people like Elon Musk who say, I'm taking everybody to Mars. Right? And he doesn't sit there thinking about money. It's not because he's rich, but money is simply energy. We're not going to go into the money issue, but if all the regions in your brain become united and there are no obstacles, you become extremely creative. And Einstein, Newton, all these kind of people that society really respects, even Michelangelo, all the painters, artists. I was just telling Maria about Bach, mentioned briefly. You listen to a Bach symphony, right? And there is this perfection that is not earthly. You look at certain paintings and you look at them and they say, how did a human create this? It's unhuman. Now, to tap into that level of intuition, number one, you have to believe that you have the ability to return back to the childlike state. It's not taking you to some mystical state where you're going to fly on red carpets. You may, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is to return to the free mind. And this is where the teachings of Zen talks about the no mind. So because we have so many opinions and so many limited beliefs, I can't do this because I'm this. Now, I don't want every one of you to become Elon Musk and chase after, your billion-dollar dream. But are you living your own creativity, your own spontaneity? Or you're sitting there going, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. How many times do you say that? Right? So the ability to visualize and to dream is a really important thing. I'll stop there for a second if you guys want to ask any questions or give any comments.
I was just going to say, when you mentioned Elon Musk, I can't see myself coming into a building with a sink in my hand, just to making the point of let's sink it in. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I saw that thing going around. That's true. However, Elon, I don't really like Elon, to be honest, but that's my personal preference. He has a lot there's one thing about him, is that he doesn't see many obstacles, and he's crazy, right? And that craziness is what I'd like you all to become, because crazy people change the world, and sane people became slaves to other people that changed the world. I should patent that. Artie, I think I should patent that. What do you think, Artie? Artie's in branding, so Artie will say, give me the go ahead with that. So either become crazy or be crazy enough to work with somebody else who's going to be crazy enough to come up with something innovative. And so it doesn't mean that you need to go in and launch a rocket to Mars, but are you living by your creativeness? Now, we've been speaking along all these different things about the gut, about the heart, about the intuition in our third eye. And today's topic is going to be about silence, because people will say, why can't I hear what my third eye is saying? Or why can't I see what my gut is saying? Why can't I listen to my heart? You know, a lot of women especially need to listen to their hearts more than men. Actually, men probably do need to listen to it more than women, but women are like, what is my heart saying? Follow my heart. We can't listen to it because there's so much noise. Now, where's that noise coming from? If you put yourself in a room, turn the lights out, and have no noise, are you at rest? Are you at peace? You're not. Most of you are not. Body's fidgeting. Mind is racing. Mind is in the future. Life is in the present. Now, is it going to be so easy for you to just shut it all out and just sit there and meditate for 16 hours? No, because of the conditioning that we've got. So a lot of people say, you know, there is no method and we're all enlightened and we're all Buddhas. I don't disagree with that. But in a modern day time, for you to get to recognize that you are a Buddha, that you're enlightened, and that you live in an infinite universe and all that exists is consciousness, it takes a bit of work. I'm of the opinion, because I come from that chaotic world, like most of us do, where we got bills to pay, we got people screaming at us, we got things to do. So there is a method. And so for me, it's about the method. And once you achieve the method, you drop the method. But because there's so much noise in the world today, you can't sit there, watch your thoughts and disappear. Do you guys agree with that? Or disagree? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they agree with that.
Good. Anybody else want to add any comments or things?
Well, I think, you know, when you wrote this little article on LinkedIn about we have lost the connection with nature, without nature. That's fully resonating with me, because I've lived that myself as well. So and I was in a fortunate position to meet up with still my best friend, a Maori native person in New Zealand, who learned me about his world and his connection with nature and his connection with the invisible world. And that just was, you know, so overwhelming. I mean, it shifted one paradigm after the other for me. I'm coming from West Europe. And so it was very, you know, I'm truly honest with you when I say I'm so privileged to meet another like-minded person. And I'm sure there's 100,000 millions of other ones that are in the world like this, but they're so hard to find. And thanks to my friend Vishwa Prasanna, that just put my name into this post from you. I mean, I met you today, so I'm just, you know, curious what you're doing. Basically, that's why I'm here. But I totally believe as a person that I lost the connection with nature, with human nature, with everything that we are part of, and it took me a little bit of work and time in New Zealand, going through all the losses that you can imagine, my work, my wife, my dog, to actually wake up and do something with that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Flores. That was a very powerful comment, and I would say the same about myself. And I constantly get lost away from myself, my true nature. And I got to return back. And so when we know you're not going to stay in that state in permanence, you got to go back to your life, right? And you got to go back to the hustle and bustle. And so the whole idea is, I was talking to Maria about this, and I said, Maria, is the world ready for this? And Flores, you said it so beautifully. There are many others. And if you look around us today, there are these people that want this to reconnect to themselves instead of the noise out there. And to center within ourselves. And interesting that you mentioned about the losses. You see, people make the greatest progress when they've had the biggest losses, which is the irony, because all our minds are after progress. Yet we're moving away from our essential selves. As we progress, we start believing more in our success and our lives and less in our true natures. And when life bangs you against the wall and wakes you up and you say, wow, what was that all about? Everything starts reversing and you say, hold on. And this is the progression of life, right? So teenage years, 20s, 30s, 40s, and then 50s. Now, in the West, it comes in their 60s or 70s. But in the East, many of the times in their 40s in the past. Now it's pretty much all the same across the world, where a person now had to take the inward journey back home. So they get out there, do it in the world, set up everything, and then they retreat inwardly. So in some of the Indian cultures, they actually take off their suits and ties and all the rest of it and just wearing a single garment. Now that's symbolic.
Yeah.
Symbolic to the simplicity of what we are. And Floris, you just mentioned now, I just came from the rainforest. I went to the south of Thailand in the middle of a rainforest. And I was just telling Maria that I went there many years ago when I first started my own self-development journey before I became a life coach. And I had developed this deep awareness and excitement. My eyes were bulging out at the excitement of life. I had the creative and childlike enthusiasm in me. And this time round, when I returned to the forest, there was a different man then, not a unexcited man, but a man looking for something deeper. And so as I use the techniques and tools that I've been practicing with my clients and myself, I said, it's time for me now, because I'm doing a lot of coaching. A lot of people know me here and I do a lot of coaching, and I'm giving and I'm giving and I'm giving. And I said, you know what, Rashad, you're losing that essential truth about you in all this giving, because you're not focusing on yourself. And I went in there and I silenced my mind and I opened my heart. And that's what I teach over and over again. And I'd love to show you the opportunity. Open my heart and open all the centers in my body. I want to talk about the energy centers and the chakras. Two things I want to talk about: the principles of the Hermetic and the principles of the chakra centers. So it's going to be, it may run a bit longer, but I think it'll be worth it. It won't take too long. And I opened it and I quieted in my mind. And I've never had such a surreal experience in all my life. And I've had some of the most profound mystical experiences ever in my life. And I'm no guru or any kind of thing like that. It's just me as a human being. But this time around was, sorry?
Yes, I'm confirming that you know,
right, because you did that, right?
We just have to recognize the magical moment, right? I mean, that's
right. It's for all of us. It's not. It's exactly that. For us, it's not somebody sitting on the mountains and then they flying on the carpet. So what happened with me is that I've had all these questions that needed to be answered of the most trivial matters and the most simplest matters. What do I do with my life? What is the nature of reality? What is God? Whatever it is. Charles, welcome. Yeah, there'll be a recording and I'll send you the link. Thank you for coming and thank you for saying goodbye as well. So you can listen to the rest of it. So, and then yes, Anna K. You raised your hand? Anna? Well, maybe not. Maybe she's trying to figure out the mic. I'll give her a second. No. So then, what ended up happening in this particular time in the forest, which can happen anywhere, by the way, you can be in your apartment in Germany, the same thing will happen. So, at that particular moment, the questions were arising and the answers were arising simultaneously, and the answers were absolutely crystal clear. And it was not me giving the answer, but it was me giving the answer. It was me speaking to me, right? And it was extremely amazing. And I can get that experience whenever I'd like to, if I become silent enough. And I want to share that technique. And the reason why I put together the masterclass is that it requires a constant practice. Because if you were all in the mountains, like Floris did and I did, you don't have to do this. The forest and the mountains alone, if you live in that environment, you will get that. And it will grow in you. It can grow in you. I have to qualify that, because something interesting I was reading, if it was the case that if you lived in, say, the Himalayas with all the great mystics that go up there and disappear, it would then indicate that everybody from the Himalayas would all be enlightened people or light-hearted people. Now, you go to all these places where Westerners generally go to retreats and meditations. You don't find all of them giggling and laughing and in great clarity and great sure, Anna, welcome, and you can watch the recording later. So then it doesn't mean that you go over there and you get all of that. It depends on your intention as well. So either way, let's talk about, if you got any questions, I'll talk briefly about the principles of the Hermetic. I want to introduce you to what that is and why it's different to the law of attraction and why it's similar to the law of attraction. So any questions or comments, please feel. Shall I talk first about the Hermetica or about the chakras? Let me talk about the chakras first, and then I'll talk about the Hermetica. Any questions, comments, feedback? Feel free.
I have a question. Since we are busy, do more people experience that that you listen more to the inner gut, or that it's more active? Let's put it that way. I had some really freaky things. I was, the one which was really amazing was I had arranged a lunch with Granny, and when we were like 2 days later finally going towards it, and we were walking in this village, and I was walking in this village, and all of a sudden it was the place where we shot today. And I thought, no. And it was shut. It was really shut. And this I had 2 days or so to have this feeling coming up, but it didn't. It just came out of the blue, and other things, thinking about people, and all of a sudden my phone goes, or all of a sudden I get an email from that person, and it's really also important stuff.
That's this is precisely what this is about. So it's a very good question. Can you train the muscle of intuition to get more synchronicities, to get more inspiration, to get more knowledge as far as wisdom and guidance? Yes, Andrea. You see, what happens is, as you mentioned, it's happening anyway. I was just thinking about you. Didn't we meet here yesterday? And all these synchronicities. So if you just pay attention to them, you see, energy is a funny thing. If you're paying attention to all the ailments in your body, you'll find more and more. If you're paying attention to all the bills that you have to pay, you'll find more and more. If you're paying attention, this is the whole thing. The attention muscle is the most vital muscle, right? So if you're paying attention, as you've done my 21-day challenge, right, Andrea, when you're paying attention for synchronicity in the universe, and you're looking, and then you see numbers, and then you see shapes, and then you're like, wow, like my wife, we were walking around, she said, I just had a deja vu. Deja vu is another thing, because that feeling overtakes you in such a way that you know it's real, but it's not, but you know it is, right? And so Rupert Sheldrake, who is amazing at this, and who did studies on mental telepathy and wrote books on it, because he's saying this is a science. And so it is all of those things, Andrea, and it is we are able to tap into that. So thank you for that. How to let bad memories go? I think I'm going to have to get a whole sort of rundown of what you mean. Memories, again, like attention, part of the ether. Memories in the body. It's a broad topic, so I really couldn't give you an answer with doing justice to it. So, but we can talk that at another stage. So, I'm going to, for the sake of just getting through some of it, if you guys can see the screen, what's really interesting about using these methods, this thing called the DMN is really interesting in the scientific word, the default mode network, right? And when you're in this region of the default mode network, your autonomic nervous system, blood pressure, heart rate, and respiration, all these activity also increases in the region linked to attention, awareness. And so this is the creative center that is being accessed, and this is what we're going to be talking about in the Intuition Masterclass as well. So these are some of the topics. Now I'm going to be talking about today about the Hermetic principles, and I'm going to be talking about the chakras, which are the energy centers in our body as well. And then we're going to be talking about this thing called the golden light, a golden flower meditation, which is Carl Jung made it famous, but it came from China. Incredible. And this is the kind of topics we'll be talking about: remote viewing, co-location, mental telepathy. So we'll be covering them in a lot more detail. And the topic that fascinates me is on sacred geometry, fractals, light consciousness, music, vibrations, frequencies. And all this knowledge is available from the ancients, the Hermetic principles, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Sufis. They had the Chinese mystics. They all, and the Tibetans are incredible as well with this kind of knowledge. So I spent a lot of time doing research for one reason, that it excites me, it gets me, and I only do what I love. And this thing just gets me super excited because it's all there and it's available to us. And I'm lucky enough that this is my business. So most people have to do this on the side, and I'm very fortunate that I can live with this. So I'm very grateful. So let's talk a little bit about the energy centers in our body. So it's been known through the mystics, whether you go to China or Ireland. I found the Irish have an entire science. Oh, Alicia, we spoke about this in a call many moons ago. You did some digging up on that, right, Alicia? Your mic's off. Mic's off.
So yes, I did, but I forget what it was that at the time.
Celtic, something about the Celtic people. So everybody knew about the energy centers. There are energy centers in our body. They start at the base chakra, which is the root chakra at the bottom where your pelvic floor is, moving up to where your belly button is. And the Japanese speak a lot about this. They call it the hara, right? Which is your, you could say your, you smiled there, Ryozo, when you heard the word hara. Why is that?
Says hara.
Hara, yeah.
Tit, atama, kokoro, hara. And
kokoro, the heart, yes,
function.
Yes. There we go. In the Japanese teaching as well. Say that again. So you said kokoro, hara. What else was it?
Atama. Atama is
Atama.
Atama is intelligence, and heart, hara, and hara. Interesting.
Yeah. So there you go from the Japanese, which is really wonderful to hear. And Atamas is also based on Atma, which is in the Sanskrit concepts as well. So all these knowledges across the globe seem to share this knowledge. But modern day science says, well, we don't have a test tube and a measurement tool for that, so it doesn't exist. So for me, sure, Banavo, there'll be a recording, you'll be able to watch it as well. It is a science, and it has been known for 5,000 years, and I'd listen to that over something that is 200 years old. Okay, so if the energy centers in the body are there, the lower energy centers are responsible for survival. So you could say this bottom part of us is about our will, control, fighting, sex, eating, survival. And the other half of us, from our heart to our throat, to our third eye, to the top, is now aligning and attuning to the divine in us. So you could say our entire journey in life has been one of making it in the world, getting food on the table, struggling, surviving, and using our solar plexus for Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah, well pointed there, right? So then as you move up your solar plexus, and a lot of people have issues with their solar plexus, right? Because this is your will. And in today's world, with all the fear and the great uncertainty and the wars and the virus and your entire solar plexus and your heart is just cramped up and cramped in. It's like, I can't create now, because you can't create if you're in survival. We may die from the next mass extinction, right? So you can't open your heart. So your heart's like this all the time. But if you open your heart, now you're moving the energy upwards, you start being able to express your creativity, which then arises to connecting with your intuition, which is your inner knowing. And that's what arises in the forest that Flores talked about as well. You could mention it that way. And ultimately leading to the opening of the flower, as they show in the teaching of the Indians. It's the flowering of the human being. So most of us are still adolescent teenagers when it comes to our growth, and that's part of the society. But if we can somehow open our hearts and then move the energy up, we become united. So it's not this journey to God, it's a journey in us, which leads to the God in us, you could say. So that's the short description of the chakras. But when these chakras or centers are out of alignment, we become out of alignment. And there's a lot about the evolution of man or women individually as they transcend these different energies. So ask yourself, where are you? Are you in survival? Are you in struggling to make it in the world and find your place and assert your authority and establish your ground? You find a lot of people are. Now, how many people are in the giving, the sharing, and more importantly, the receiving, the feeling worthiness of being loved, of being blessed by the universe for everything that you are? How many of us are going, I'm open. I'm no longer surviving. I'm no longer fighting. I'm ready. Bring it to me. At the same time, I become a God in me by me giving. How many of us have come to the point where we can give? Is it because you haven't reached the 10 million mark, or because you haven't reached this mark? So we've always got reasons to not be givers. But in fact, we all are givers. Mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, right? Opening it up. And then what language are we speaking? Are we speaking the language of the gut and of our survival centers? So are we talking because we need to put food on the table? Because it comes in a different language, right? But if we're talking about creativity and about giving back and expressing our higher truth, it's a different frequency, different vibration, right? You guys can relate to this. And are we speaking from our inner voices, our knowing within us, our creativity? Or are we speaking from survival, right? And then finally, we stop talking. There's no speaking needed. There is only being the flowered opening, which is not required. But nature does not speak in words, right? But look at the flower. Look at something beautiful, a beautiful spouse, a beautiful child. Everything is said and nothing needs to be said. It's simply received and open, right? So that's your energy centers or your chakras. Anybody have any questions or comments? And I'll talk briefly about the principles of the Hermetica. It's power packed here. I was going to do a practice as well. Let's see if I can fit that in.
The chakras also match up with the major organ centers in the body.
Precisely.
And the throat chakra actually is like the organ of communication.
Yes, and the throat chakra is also responsible for co-creation. So when you feel that you are a co-creator, in other words, that you can create. So one thing is being able to speak your truth, and people who can't, you find them to have a lot of throat problems. But secondly, to be able to create and co-create. Like if I ask you, what are you creating in your life? Most people would say, I don't have time for that. I got to pay bills, right? So you're not expressing. And then, of course, you have tightness in these different areas. And, of course, indigestion, liver problems, all related. Kidneys are fear all over. Today, the solar plexus and around the kidneys is just fear, fear, fear. And that's why you saw warriors of old in any culture. They wore these very tight belts around their bellies and their kidney area, so they wouldn't be so afraid. Because when the kidneys are exposed and you're being terrified by death, so they used to tie the belt around their kidneys, and the more tighter they were, the less fear they used to feel. So that was the thinking behind it. And of course, a lot of the ancient wisdom is what I rely on. I use modern day science to correlate that because we need the facts. Joe Dispenza, for instance, is now tying in each chakra center very, very instinctively and intuitively to how disease is manifested in there and how to get rid of it. Okay, so finally, how many of you have heard of the Hermetica and the Hermetic principles? 1, 2, okay, 2 people. So the Hermetic principles are a set of principles. Sergio, you've heard of it. So first of all, the Hermetica is based on the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus. Now, Hermes Trismegistus was Hermes, 3 times Hermes. He was known as a god in many senses of the word. The Greeks used to call him Hermes, and the Egyptians used to call him Thoth. And he's an ancient figure that they say he went to the heavens, understood the rules of how everything works, and then came back. Pythagoras, many of the modern day things that we know about were developed by him. So when I looked at the law of attraction, I said, something doesn't resonate right with me about that, because I'm not a fan of it. Although I know it and I practice it, it's more to the science that meets the eye. And so I went all the way back to the Egyptians, and then all the way back to the Hermetica. So I'll cover that a lot more detail in the Intuition Masterclass, but briefly, okay, we'll share the link, Lana, if you find it on, there's a documentary on YouTube, Alana mentions. So I'm going to introduce you to 7 principles. So first of all, and it's all online, there's no shortage of it. So I'm not going to give you information, I'm just going to talk a little bit about them. So the principle of mentalism, all is mind. Okay, I'll just introduce you to that. So everything is mind. The principle of correspondence. You heard the term as above, so below. That was coined by Hermes, right? Which is that, and I'll explain it in a bit. So then the next principle we talk about is the principle of vibration. And that was the whole focus on this particular thing. Your vibration, what you put out from your heart, and how everything on the planet is vibrating at different frequencies. And now, 5,000 years later, quantum physics has proved that. In the 70s and 60s, the experiments have said everything is in movement, nothing is static. And the Chinese have been speaking about this thing called qi, and the yogis have been speaking about prana and the life force that's all around us. And now they find that our bodies are composed of 98% junk DNA. Only 2% of all the DNA in our bodies responsible for all the features that you see. Eye color, hair color, predisposition to diseases are all from that 2%. 98% of the DNA, scientists call that junk DNA. So anything they don't understand, they give the word junk, dark, anything useless about. But for me, in my understanding, especially with the field of epigenetics, is finding that 98% is controlling the expression of that 2%. It's not just me saying that. Many of the leading free thinkers are saying that. So if the 98%, which is emotions, thoughts, feelings, hereditary patterns, environment, is dictating how those 2% of our genes express, if we get access to that 98%, can we change the DNA? Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, and a few others have come up and said, yes, you can. So thank God it's not me. There's the link. Lana just posted it, the Hermetica, the Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs on YouTube. So if you want to take a look at that. So, and that's the law of vibration, the law of polarity. Basically, everything is in dual. I'm not going to get into too much detail. The principle of rhythm, everything flows out and in, everything has its tide. This is an entire episode, and I may dedicate the next one to this particular topic. So, and then finally, the principle of cause and effect, which I'm going to talk about as well. Sorry, there's one more called the principle of gender. Everything in nature is embodied with gender, male and female, but like every human being has both genders within themselves. It's just the organs are different. So let's talk about vibration briefly. So here's just something I'd like you to ponder. If everything is vibration and the world out there, according to quantum physics, aligns with the vibration that you are. In other words, if you're in the vibration of why doesn't anything ever go right for me, is there proof that you can now start affecting things out there by your attention? So you're looking for what's going wrong. I'd like you to do a personal experiment before you join the next session. It'll be week after next. Can you put your attention on all the things that are working in your life and how you're looking for the next big thing or small thing that's going to make you feel grateful? Can you, and we did a whole 21 day, and that's why the point of the course, so that you can keep you every day tied in, so that you can do this experiments in your life. And you say, I have a friend who always, when he goes to the forest with his kids, he said, every time we go to the forest, they find that my kids step on dog poo. Every time. But we've been going to the forest for years, and my wife said, we never even seen the dog poo, right? And then I laughed because I saw some dog poo, how I automatically avoided it. Now that I've become aware of it, you know, if you bite yourself on your cheek somewhere and you're like, oh, and now you start eating again, what happens? End up biting on the same spot. And how angry do you get, right? Well, how did that happen, right? So there's a lot of stuff that you're going to see. So I tried this experiment myself because I haven't got anything better to do with my life. But I said, can I maintain the frequency of wholeness? You know, one feeling, what's one feeling that you want to feel right now? And this is from Neville Goddard's teachings. The secret is the feeling. Try it out. If it's all baloney, then this shouldn't work. But if it does work, you'll have proof for yourself. What feeling do you want to feel? The feeling I wanted to feel was relief because of something that was happening. How many people want to feel relief right now? Like, oh, thank God. It's over. It's done. I've achieved. It's complete. It's better. I'm this. All of that. How many of us want to feel that relief? That burden take us off ourselves. Yeah, quite a few. It is the primary one, right? Now, what is the opposite of relief? Can anybody think of a word that relates to what's the opposite of relief?
Some type of tension.
Tension, burden, suffering, pain.
Trapped. Trapped.
Tripped.
Stress.
What? Stress. Constriction, I like, Alana. So on the one hand, we have something, yeah, all of the words are, so what is our natural state of being while we wait for relief? Think about this, right? So you're in a state, let's use our hands to show, to signify, right? It's this, right? It's this tension because we're waiting for this relief. So because the whole thing about the law of correspondence and the law of polarity is that, do you know that love and hate come from exactly the same place? You can't hate someone unless you've loved them. Do you realize?
That's why society creates work and holidays, right? I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and that's why we have hunger, and then we have satiation, and we get to eat, right? So it is that as well. But if you look at it, if you want relief, you have to know that pain, suffering, constriction, restriction is the same composition. Like if you turn constriction into relief, it is the same emotion. There is no separation. You must understand it, and I'll explain it further. Don't look for something out there. Somebody's mic is on. I can hear the TV or something in the background there. No, thank you. So if you look, you're looking for relief out there, but look at the feeling that you have right now. You're feeling constricted. You're feeling, I need this to happen. Something has to happen. Can you identify and sit with that feeling of what does that feel like? Like, I need this in order for me to feel relief. Think about the thing that you need to give you the relief. Is it money? Is it a job? Is it a spouse? Is it an ailment that you need released? Is it a tension that you feel? Give that your attention.
You're feeling the lack.
Well, that's a conceptual understanding of the word, but let's stick to the feeling, right? But you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. But let's talk about the feeling. If we can feel this, I don't need a name. I'm just asking you to sit with the feeling without describing it. That requires relief. Whatever you want to feel relief, expansion, opening of, right? Firstly, get to become familiar with the feeling.
Isn't it not simply that it's attached to a thought and that you just, can undo the thought? I mean, the thought often is not necessarily part of yourself anyway.
Yes, Flores, at the higher level, yes, but we're going to keep it small.
Okay,
we're coming
fine.
to that. No, by all means. So let's examine it from a thought level by asking the question, why do I feel that I need this in order for me to feel relieved? Hold that thought, don't answer it. Now, I have another question for you, the most important question. Do you know what it would feel like to feel that feeling you desire? Do you know, not conceptually, do you know the feeling that you want to feel? Do you know what it feels like? Can you feel it right now? That feeling of relief, of opening, of, let me give you an example. I use words where you say, finally, I can relax. It's all over. Everything's been done. All my needs have been met. I'm at ease now. Try that for a second. Close your eyes. And see if you can become familiar with this feeling. Like, get to know this feeling. And breathe out and say, let it out of your body. Because your body doesn't know the difference between a real experience and an imagined experience. So imagine as if, though, for a second, tune into your imagination and creativity. And imagine that this thing that you want, this feeling that you want, you've been given it. The thing, whatever it is. Now feel in your body with a deep out breath and say, and feel that release in your body and say, wow, it's already done. I can't believe it. I've done it. I've achieved it. It's all done. All my needs have been met. Now think about that. Once you feel that feeling, hold the feeling and think about after you feel the feeling of, oh, it feels so good that it's done. What feeling arises next? And that you can tell me. The feeling that arises after feeling that you've gotten everything you ever desired. See how much you can concentrate and retain the feeling. If you can hold the feeling for 23 seconds, you start changing matter. See if you can hold the frequency in your heart of this great relief, this great opening, this great ease, and feel worthy of receiving. And stay with the feeling. Use your imagination to amplify the sounds, the images, the people that may be around. This is all a game. Play the game along. And see if you can use your imagination to imagine you having that experience now. That feeling of, oh, thank God, it's over. And if you're like most people, the next feeling that will come up will be gratitude. And you say, wow, thank you. Notice how thank you and gratitude goes along with the feeling of relief. So feel the thanks and the gratitude that you're feeling for the thing that you've gotten. It's all in your imagination. And now see if you can remember this frequency that you're carrying of it's already done. How would you apply this to everything around you, your family, your friends, your work, walking around like it's already done, like you've achieved everything you want? How would that change you? And when you're ready, you can take a deep breath in and out and open your eyes. So if that was easy for you, that means your imagination's really working well. But if you're like most people, you would have struggled to maintain that feeling. And that is the training that I'm talking about. Because if you felt like you were one with everything, that nothing mattered, and you had achieved everything you wanted, imagine the energy you'll be emitting out there. Now, this is as above, so below. If you're emitting such a frequency, you go and see when you're a grumpy bastard walking around like life has given you a shit card, and go see how many people want to be in your company, just as a simple task. And notice when you walk around like you just got another $100,000 in your bank account, and you walking around that feeling, and watch what happens to this. Go prove it to yourself. Go and see. If you come out of nature or a meditation versus when you came out of a 16-hour shift, energy, right? So if you can control one thing, and that's your energy, it would be the catalyst to changing your life. But most people want to look for some miracle out there. I need a new job. I need a new car. I need a new spouse. She's so annoying, or he's so annoying, all the rest of it. But change your energy. And that's what is the difficult part as far as I'm concerned. And I believe it requires effort. So here's a test for all of you who've stuck around. Anybody else is going to be watching it. Can you maintain this energy for 12 hours? Walking around, and you can create it. And it takes a bit of attention where you create the feeling. And every moment, this is what attention is. This is what it means to be present, by the way. You know, present, you know what present means? Like people say, you should just be present. And you sit around going, okay, now what? Right? What is this present thing? But imagine if you, for 12 hours, you could give your attention to feeling this great gratitude, this great aliveness. I don't need anything. You're faking. It's a 12-hour exercise. All a lie. All a lie. Okay? It's a game. Play a game. And that's what kids do so well. Have you seen a child serving tea? I've got 4 daughters. So when they say, come over, Daddy, I'm going to make you tea. And I say, oh, really? They say, sit down. Sit down. Look, here's the tea. And here's the cup. And I'm like, oh, thank you. It's so nice. And she says, but you didn't drink it. And to get upset, right? And then I go, she said, but it's so hot. How can you just drink it like that? I'm sorry. Okay, I'll blow on it. Yeah, blow on it. Wow, this tea's so nice. And then she smiled. Why? Because we're taught this game as children. We're taught instinctively, intuitively. You see boys playing cowboys and crooks or whatever it is, the game they're playing, it died. Now, if your friend is playing this game and you didn't really die, you'd be like, I don't want to play with this guy anymore. Yes, Flores?
I was going to say that earlier already, but this is what works for me very well. I came to realize that when I'm in the sea or in the ocean, I really truly become a child again.
Okay.
I'm staying there longer than my 10-year-old son. I can stay really 3-4 hours, and I'm still loving going with the waves. I'm really a child.
And you're in Northern Europe. Okay, you got some thick skin there, man.
Well, I mean, I've been a little bit everywhere. I lived on 4 continents, so I find this. At the moment, I'm far away from the sea. I'm in Switzerland. I have lakes.
Right. So what were you saying about that?
But what I'm trying to say is, if we can all for ourselves find this one thing, maybe we have more than one, but at least one thing where we can, as an adult, really find our child back. Like for me, it's working when I'm really playing inside the waves in the Tasman Sea, in the Pacific Ocean. I mean, I'm really a child, and my wife believes me finally, because she always thought I was just doing that to tease her to stay so long in the waves. But I'm really a child, and when I think strongly about that moment, even when I'm here in Switzerland, far away from the sea, I can easily back to that stage. My imagination, your visualization, your creativity, I just attach it one-on-one with that memory, one-on-one with that feeling, and everything feels right. So if I'm really not feeling well, or if I'm feeling stuck and I want to feel relieved, or I want to feel happy, I really take myself back to the sea. And then the day that I'm truly at the sea, I mean, that's the day that I really show my gratitude. But then I go from gratitude into playing. You know, I'm a little boy then. I really am, and it's really incredible. I think that keeps me young all my life so far.
Wonderful, Flores. That's very valuable. So you don't need to be at the sea to feel like you are at the sea. Thank you, Andrea. We're about to finish off as well. So if you can recall the feeling and teach your body, otherwise you're going to have to go either to the sea or to go here and go there. And my whole teaching is what I'm showing you is that you can be in the middle of the concrete jungle and create the feeling that you want to feel right here, right now. So Flores, definitely. One thing I want to add about what Flores is saying is, remind us about what Flores is saying is about connecting to that thing that makes you feel like a child again. Whether it's the water, playing with your toys, whatever it is, go do that thing. Maybe it's even watching old cartoons from when, because that's when you were the most freshest, spontaneous, and lacking fear. And then the world came to you and said, you can't have that. You're going to be a grumpy person and work. Lauren, you have something to say?
There we go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Michelle, I just had a question for you around ego intuition link. And as you were speaking, because I've been, studying a lot around the ego and how to dissolve that. But is it true that as your intuition improves, your ego would decrease? I mean, what is that kind of link?
It's a very good question, Lauren. It will require an hour of understanding of. It's a very good question. I can see where you're at, and I totally get what you're saying. Instinctively, I would say yes, except that the ego is. It's such a tricky topic. I need to explore it for you, and you're in a wonderful space. Please do continue, but I can't answer that right now. I'd be happy to. answer that privately as well. So, good
Thank
question.
you.
So all of you, if you can try and see how easy or how difficult it is for you to remember through the day, just for 12 hours as a test. And if you can do this for one day, then try it for the next day. Because part of the ego mind, and that's what mentioned right now, is it loves sabotaging. So it'll be like, I haven't got time for this. That's 25 years of, these people have been doing it for eternity, and he's a coach, and, that's why he can do it, and all this kind of doubt. And so all I'm asking you is that try this game. You see, if you don't call it a game and say, this is going to change your life, your ego mind will say, don't worry about that. We got more important. So can your childlike mind play a game with me and us all of you? And we'll check in with you guys in a week, after a week. Every second week we have calls, so you're welcome to jump in anytime. For 12 hours, to maintain the feeling as if though whatever you desired has been achieved as a game. Because the rational mind's going to go, well, I don't have a Ferrari, do I? If you like Ferraris, and now everybody's also anti-petrol and all the rest of it. It's like a terror swear word to say Ferrari, your new Tesla, whatever it is. And hopefully you guys will be a little more deeper than looking for a car. But whatever it is that you desire, to live in that feeling for 12 hours. And if you can't do it for 12 hours, start for an hour. And don't struggle. This is the other thing. It's an oxymoron. I'm saying put all your attention on, but don't struggle to do that. So relax into the feeling of gratitude, of wholeness, and of relief. And you just felt it now. And if it means that you need to take yourself to the ocean in your imagination, like Flores recommended, wherever that happy place is, take yourself there. But do me a favor, feel worthy of spending 30 minutes today on yourself and saying, I'm going to close my eyes, recall that feeling that I did on the call, and see if I can maintain this for 12 hours. And if you can do this for 12 hours, you're going to be super excited about doing it the next day. And if you can do that for a week or 2 weeks, I can almost guarantee your life changes. It doesn't mean that if you don't do this, your life's going to be hell. Remember that. It's not like a doctor saying, if you don't do this, you're going to be dead. It's not like that. It's going to enrich. Your eyes are going to sparkle. The wonder is going to arise again. And that's what I'm after, bringing the spark back into our eyes, into our lives. So, guys, I rushed through quite a lot there. Thank you. The energy has been sensational. All of you have brought such amazing energy. I don't know who it was, but all of you, my heart's so filled with the energy right now. And I hope you guys have captured this, because there aren't many forums that are not talking about making money or progress in careers, or we're just here. It's like, hey, here's a game to play, an imagination. And we're doing the intensive masterclass. It's going to be on a sort of daily basis, and the check-in, all the rest of it. If you're interested, then please ask me. Most of you on LinkedIn, I'll send you a link to the course. We've got a few people excited, involved in it, and I'm super excited about bringing all this amazing information to you. So, guys, I think we can leave it there. We went quite over, but it was all very exciting. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Flores. Your input was amazing. Otto, sorry, we didn't. Otto is my incredible friend in Cambodia. We didn't get to hear much input from him. But thank you for joining us. It was really lovely.
Thank you so much, Richard, for giving us a space to talk.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for your input. I loved listening to all of your things. And Minga, enjoy your sleep on the couch there. You look like you passed out. It's like, she's like, this is so boring. I'm just joking. All right, guys, take care. And week after next, we'll have another free call. So please join in. I'll send you guys an invite on LinkedIn.
Thanks, Rashad. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Rashad. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Rashad. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Richard, for all you do for us. Thank you.
Alana, thank you so much as well for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, all of you.
Bye.
Flores, lovely. Yeah.
Sayonara to Tokyo.
Yes,
Sayonara.
Sayonara.
from Tokyo.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.